Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Krebsco Company of Heroes cast. Welcome to all of you seasoned veterans of this channel who are here to watch another very exciting episode. You all know what Company of Heroes is about, and to all of you who don't actually know what Company of Heroes is, perhaps this is maybe your first time watching one of my videos about Company of Heroes, or maybe you're actually just doing a YouTube search and you found Company of Heroes and you somehow got led to this video. Well, I will tell you that Company of Heroes is a World War II based real-time strategy game on the PC, so you can't get it on consoles, and it's highly regarded as one of the best RTSs of all time. In my personal opinion, it is the best RTS of all time. I'm not a big fan of I was going to say Star Wars or Star Trek there, but I mean StarCraft, and I'm also not a big fan of Dawn of War. So that is just my personal opinion. So then again, this is why I'm doing Company of Heroes cast, because this is one of my probably all-time favorite game, and hence why I actually do it, because I enjoy it. Alright, so that explains the whole introductions of why I'm doing this and what Company of Heroes is. Highly regarded as one of the best games out there. Now, what are we going to be looking at today is actually quite an exciting matchup. I was watching, watched the replay, the full length, and you won't really know who's going to win up until the last moments. So that is what we're looking for. We're looking for these sort of tense battles that are going to leave you guys guessing, because I know those are the most entertaining, and you are always rooting for your own team. I'm going to try to bring a non-biased approach, and hopefully we'll enjoy this. Alright guys, so we're at the 5-second mark for all of you who are watching through replays, and we're going to be starting in 3 seconds. So in 3, 2, 1, and let's begin. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and on we go to another very exciting matchup in the Company of Heroes battlefield. Alright, so today what we're going to be looking at is a 2v2 on Rails and Metal. If you could guess by now, you can tell by this map that yes, there are a lot of strategic sort of things to take a note of. Mostly important that it's quite a elongated map. It's quite small in respect to other 2v2 maps such as McGeckin's War. McGeckin's War is a huge map. Same with Point du Hoc, that's quite a big map. But this is quite a rectangular map, and so what this means is that battles are sort of focused towards the middle of this map. So on the right hand side over here, what we have is the a medium fuel point, which is going to be highly anticipated. As we all know by now, the fuel race of just having to get our fuel points as fast as possible and maintaining them. So on the right hand side, we've got this sort of approach here, this sort of area where it's unique in its own way. You've got this trench that's sort of guarding the VP. You've also got this trench that's guarding the fuel point. Now, you could say, you could take it into both ways, that whoever's on which side has an advantage of grabbing this trench, but I suppose it's actually quite equal, because, you know, if you have this trench on this side and you're coming from the north, then you can sort of guard this fuel point quite effectively. If you can come from the south, grab it, then get the trench, then you can sort of guard that fuel point, right? So you've also got this house here, which is quite important. If you can hold that, then you can sort of maintain a vital sort of vantage point, so you get a greater sight around what's going on. And most importantly, a lot of people love parking their MGs inside that building. That's why we've got the Pioneer, for example, who's actually holding that building at the moment, because he recognizes if, for example, the Americans can grab it, then his MG over here is sort of stuffed. And we all know about the sort of advantage bonuses that men get when they're inside buildings. They're basically harder to kill. However, they are sort of limited by the windows that are there. For example, as you guys can see on this building side, there's only 2 windows. So even if you had a 3-man squad, only 2 men could actually poke out the side of that window and fire from there. However, if you look on the main side of that house, you got like 6 or so windows. So that should be no problem for the amount of men that could be in there, right? So it looks like the Americans are actually pushed off on the right-hand side, which is kind of an unfortunate thing, because if you pushed off from the right-hand side already in the early game, then it's kind of difficult to actually get back into the race, especially if you're an American with riflemen, because you don't really have snipers to take on the entrenched MG over here in this building, for example. If you're going to have any sort of success with your riflemen, what you have to do is do some flanking. You have an option of 2 things. You can have an option of getting some grenades, for example, on your riflemen and approaching from different flanks. For example, if we see over here, there's a green wall. So basically, whenever you have green cover or yellow cover, it's harder for you to be suppressed. And so by approaching it from that angle, you could have an easier time of actually flanking the MG if you're on the side of this green wall, for example. Now, the other approach, obviously, if you don't have grenades, is to also go for the munitions of a flamethrower. So if you get enough flamethrower. So if you're not really too keen on spending some fuel and manpower and sort of delaying yourself from teching up and getting vehicles, then you can sort of disregard the riflemen with their grenades and go on up to the flamethrower. That's actually quite a common thing, although a lot of people still like to get grenades some way down the line, especially if the Wehrmacht, for example, goes heavy infantry oriented, because grenades, as we all know, unofficially named, are the nuclear pineapples. So the nuclear pineapples, they sort of earn their name because basically they have a massive explosion. No, they don't really make a mushroom cloud. That would be absolutely funny if they actually did make a mushroom cloud, but they have a very wide area of effect and kill a lot of guys. Now, I love what's going on over here. So actually, we explained what the right hand side is like. Now let's explain what the middle is like. This area is more open, however it's scattered by debris of some sort, such as you got crates here and also barrels. I'm not exactly sure what these are, like some sort of I don't know what the exact term in English is, but like oh god, I don't know, a bale or a spur or something that would hold these wires. I believe there's sort of like these rolls of wires. You know, that's the best I can sort of explain it without actually knowing the exact term for what they are. I'm sure there's some sort of industrial sort of term for these sort of things. But anyway, we've got the house over here, a wee shack, and also some other shacks, but those don't really see that much attention. Why? Because, as we were saying on the right hand side, for example, with the limited number of windows, over in the center, for example, we have a very small shack with a window on each side. So, you know, that's not really that effective, especially when, you know, for example, you have one guy shooting out of the window at a time. It's not really as effective as, say, you have 3 men shooting out of windows at a time, right? You're not really getting that exact firepower, and at the same time, that means that your opponent can sort of focus fire on your man singly, one at a time, for example. So if you have one man in a window, then they can easily focus fire that one man singly, right? And so it means death quicker to yourself if you're in that building. So this is quite strange. It looks like the right-hand side has actually been flanked entirely, and now the Wehrmacht have actually lost it. The reason being is that this is 2v2, and I should have actually introduced the players by now, but sorry for doing that. For the Americans, we've got Drink and RoMJim, alright? So we definitely know who these players are, more specifically RoMJim. I'm not exactly sure who Drink is, and oh my gosh, we've actually got a flank going inside a base here. I did not actually notice this, but it looks like a flank going inside the base. The Jeep actually going down. Very unfortunate loss, but I think what he was trying to do was take out this MG. Not a good idea, because the MG could easily reinforce here, and that was no problem for them, right? And there we go, the MG was reinforced, and there's quite a bit of men here, and so the Americans, even though they were trying to get their hopes up and trying to take out that MG, they lost a Jeep in the meantime, and quite a bit of the riflemen, so in my opinion, not a good maneuver to be actually doing that. The reason that they lost the right-hand side was because this is 2v2, RoMJim and Drink, right? So a common tactic for the Americans, as we all probably know by now, is that one American will go for the barracks. So if you look on over at RoMJim, he's got the barracks, while his ally in crime has got the weapons support center. Reason being is so that you can have mixed arms, right? And so by having mixed arms, oh my gosh, we've got an incendiary trap going off. By having mixed arms, then you can allow to most optimally play. For example, if you had just double American riflemen, then you might have difficult times penetrating defensive positions because you don't have mortars, you don't have snipers, and that's why this right-hand side sort of fell down, because we had a mortar in the back here which was pummeling away, and mortars are definitely a great way of countering things. So hopefully you're seeing a sort of pyramid of competition, you know, sort of one of those predatory pyramids of what can counter what, for example. Okay, so you have an MG that counters, actually let's start at the most basic level. See, if you have engineers and riflemen, they are countered by MGs. MGs can be countered by masses of men, of riflemen, or they can be countered by mortars or snipers, the indirect route, for example. And what can counter mortars? Maybe other mortars, maybe artillery. What can counter snipers? Maybe motorcycles. So there is a logical progression to everything that goes on here. It's sort of like is a pyramid of sort of predatory pyramid. I don't know what to call it. I think it's something like that. I'm trying to remember my biology from school here. But anyway, so that sniper actually going down there, it was actually revealed by the motorcycle, and there you go, the sniper actually being killed. That is a big loss, considering that we know how much the snipers can cost, 340 manpower, I believe, and that is a lot to actually lose. That's more than a normal rifleman squad, that's more than a grenadier squad or a Volksgrenadier squad, so to actually lose a sniper like that is kind of a big loss, right? So over on the right hand side, we still see that the Americans have the position here, however, they are being slightly pushed back on the defensive. So we've explained what the middle is like. It's sort of scattered debris, it's more open. However, you do have these sort of defensive positionings around here specifically, and behind the barrels, for example, and the spurs, so that they can actually get some cover behind them. Over on the left hand side, this is even more open. So over on the right hand side, for example, we had these trenches and this house. Over on the left hand side, we still got this sort of farmlandish looking area where you have this house. This house is actually destroyed. This is very surprising this early in the game to actually destroy the house by now, but I actually have absolutely no idea how it could be destroyed. It's so early on. But anyway, we have it's more open field over here, and you still got this vital fuel point over here, which is a medium fuel point. And so a lot of people like to contest for this and grab this house as well, because if they can grab that house, then again they have an advantage point, just as the right hand side is sort of like, right? So if you can maintain those sides of those houses, then you have a good advantage. However, it doesn't mean that you're definitely going to hold that area. I mean, it's quite easy to outmaneuver your opponent by flanking them, or by using some indirect routes of fire, such as your mortars, or such as artillery and such things like that, right? So we all get the sort of gist of what can counter what by now. Now let's actually explain, for example, what's actually going on with these players. We've got the right hand side going into the general hands of the Wehrmacht at the moment. I mean, they are doing a superb job here. We've got the MG42 just suppressing all these men from doing anything. We've also got the sniper providing some support, so it's kind of unfortunate that right at the moment the Americans don't have their sniper out, because that could be used as sort of a way to maybe even not counter the sniper. I mean, definitely could counter him, but whenever there's a sniper that, say for example you have a sniper and your opponent has a sniper, it's sort of intimidating to know that an enemy sniper is on the field, because they could easily out snipe you, for example, right? And so you may delay your shots, you may not even take any shots before your opponent actually does it, right? Counter sniping, the whole thing about counter sniping. Now, oh my god, incendiary traps going down like crazy here. So this means that we've got a scorched earth doctrine selection by the PE, because that's the only way that you're going to get incendiary traps in this game, right? So let's actually take a look at build orders. That's what's going on. Since it's a little bit quiet, we just see some armored car here just pummeling away at these engineers. Over on the left hand side, what we've got for BillyHerrington is the logistics company and also the Panzer Command. So I suppose if we're going to be talking about the actual build orders for the Axis, we might as well introduce the players as well. We've got aSIISymbiosis and aSIIBillyHerrington as the PE, and Symbiosis as the Wehrmacht. There we go. So that's what we're looking at today. Definitely a highly ranked match. I suppose I should have actually told you guys this probably at the beginning of the game, but hey-ho, this is one of the frustrating things about doing casts at times, for example. It's just the amount of things that you could talk about and just not enough space to actually talk about them. So pardon me for not actually introducing them at the beginning, but now we know. Now, I felt like I had to actually find out a little bit more about these players. For example, we know RoMJim and like aSIISymbiosis. Those are sort of like names you make up. So I was sort of wondering to myself, aSIIBillyHerrington. BillyHerrington, you know, it sounds like somebody who might be actually known in this world. So I was thinking, okay, I don't actually know this player, so I'll have a quick Wikipedia look to find out why this player, BillyHerrington, has actually made his name BillyHerrington in this game. And now I'm actually just going to bring up my phone here because I've got the page loaded up. I went over to the Wikipedia page, and BillyHerrington, he was born in July 14th of 1969. His height is 6 foot 1 inches. He weighs 110 kilograms. But now this is the great part about it. BillyHerrington, born in Long Island, New York, is a bisexual American actor, best known for his work in pornography of the same sex. Wow. I just burst out into laughter there, because you guys really do not cease to amaze me. I mean, sometimes the players in Company of Heroes really do not cease to amaze me sometimes, just by how unusual and how peculiar they can be with their name choices. For example, that was just a complete... I was not expecting that, but fair enough. I suppose if somebody is inspired by BillyHerrington, maybe he's trying to sort of make a joke on us for anyone who actually looks up what BillyHerrington is. Maybe. I have absolutely no idea, but like I said, I'm not surprised by what you guys are like sometimes. I remember fondly actually this one time, many years ago now, I was actually playing one match against against some people in just basic match. For example, I was playing with my brother at the time, and we were waiting for our opponents, and one of our opponents came in, and he was a Wehrmacht. We were just playing as the allies. He was playing as a Wehrmacht, and his name was actually quite funny. So you guys all know what the book is, Mein Kampf. We all know how notorious that is, the infamous Mein Kampf. Well, his name was Mein Comfy Chair. And you know, my brother just started laughing. He's this sort of a guy that likes plays on words, for example, and he just absolutely loved the whole idea of Mein Comfy Chair, for example. I thought it was a bit funny as well, but you know, my brother was just absolutely laughing, sort of rolling on the floor. He's a bit older than me, so he can sort of appreciate that, the whole sort of you know, political aspect of it, right? But anyway, we've got pretty much a stalemate at the moment. It looks like the right hand side is pretty much in the hands of the Wehrmacht and the Axis in general, and left hand side is pretty much in the hands of the Americans. Over for the VPs, for example, we've got 440 for the Americans with 375 for the Axis. Quite interesting stuff. So if we look over at DrinkIIKir again, this pornography man, he's got the Panzer, the logistics company, and also the Panzer Command. So that's why we've got the armored cars, and it's quite surprising that he's gone for the logistics company, because a lot of people don't really tend to go for that nowadays. However, what he has, and this is why I actually particularly like this replay, not only was it a little bit short, but also this very fact right here, the Funk Wagon. Alright, so this replay was actually called The Vampire Guide to the Galaxy. Alright, so The Vampire Guide to the Galaxy. The sniper over here must be thinking, what the hell? Why am I being revealed right now? And this is one of the great things about Company of Heroes sometimes, is that maybe you guys have an idea by now that, you know, I'm a guy that knows a lot about Company of Heroes, but I have to tell you guys, I don't know everything about Company of Heroes. Really, this is a really great game, especially for the new people out there who don't actually know what Company of Heroes is. Trust me, I've played this game since April of 2007, so almost 5 years now. I can't believe I've been playing this game for 5 years. That's one point why you should play this game. It has amazing longevity. It's extremely cheap. Sometimes it goes under £5, for example, on Steam. I have absolutely no idea what that's going to be in dollars, but probably less than $5 on Steam at times. That is absolutely crazy. Just such a cheap game. Lasts so long. The multiplayer just really is such a great thing. I mean, it will really be drawing you back to the game all the time. Now, as I was saying, I got a little bit off track there. The great thing about Company of Heroes is, even after 5 years of playing this game, I'm still learning things all the time. You know, it's not really the basics like, oh, how to flank stuff and stuff like that, for example, or the build orders of units. It's more so about the exact details of units, such as, for example, the Funk Wagon. I didn't know this until today. Until actually probably like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes ago. But, you know, I'll just start off with what I knew. For example, the Funk Wagon, we all know it actually has a special ability where it can actually cut off the resource income of your opponent. For example, I'll have to make a good example here. How can I say this? So, say if we had a line of succession. Say if we had, oh god, I don't want to lose the action. So, say if the Americans, for example, grabbed 3 points. Say if they grabbed this fuel point first, then they grab this manpower point, then they grab this munitions point over here. So, line of succession. They grab the fuel point, then the manpower, then the munitions. Basically, what it does is the Funk Wagon, it actually cuts off your opponent's resources by half, depending on what sector it's in. For example, if the Funk Wagon was over in this sector with the munitions, it would cut off the munitions by half. So, effectively, the Americans would only get an income of 2.5 rather than 5, and also the Funk Wagon will allow the Axis or the PE to get the half of the resources as well. So basically, the Americans will get 2.5, and the Panzer Elite will get 2.5 as well. All right. Now, say for example, if we went with that order of succession sort of thing, and the Funk Wagon parked himself in this fuel point over here, what he would do would be, because these points are capped in succession and they're sort of all grouped up together, is that what will happen is, if the Funk Wagon is in this fuel point, it'll cut off the fuel point in half, it'll cut off the manpower in half, and it will cut off the munitions in half. Alright, so whatever goes down that line in succession is cut in half. However, if we went with that previous example, if it was just in this munitions point, all it would be cutting off is that munitions point, because it was the last point to be capped. Alright, so now we sort of understand how the Funk Wagon actually caps things. It also cuts off resources by half in the sector it currently is in and diverts it to the PE player. Alright, so there you guys go. Now, everyone sort of knows how the vampire works in that respect. However, the things that I didn't know, for example, this is very surprising. When it's actually parked down and sort of camouflaged like it is right now, it increases its maximum health by 50%. That is great, okay? I didn't know it actually increased it by 50%, but apparently it does, right? We've got Sniper going down here, a few other units going down. Funk Wagon increases by 50%. That is absolutely crazy. But the most important things are, within a 30-meter radius of the vampire half-track, all camouflage units will be revealed. So specifically for the Americans, for example, that is the sniper or the Hellcat. If the Funk Wagon is within 30 minutes of the, or 30, not 30 minutes, within 30 meters of them, they will be revealed. And that's why we saw that sniper a little bit earlier getting revealed, even though there was no motorcycle or anything to actually reveal that unit. Also, within a plus 70 meter radius of the Funk Wagon, you will also be able to see enemy units in the line of, or the fog of war. So you'll be able to see them on the minimap. So say for example, if all you could see was just around this fuel point and you couldn't see anything beyond the fog of war, basically on the minimap you'd be able to see them moving around within 70 meters of that Funk Wagon. That is great. That is what you need. If you can't get direct line of sight and you don't really know what to anticipate or where the enemies are, you can actually indirectly see them on the minimap with that Funk Wagon. Other nifty thing is that it can also deploy Goliaths. So, you know, the Wehrmacht have an excellent unit of being able to produce Goliaths from the bunker, from their bunkers, for example. However, the Panzer Elite can also do that with the Funk Wagon Vampire half-track, and so it's an underused thing, but it's definitely a great thing to use at times. Oh my god, what is this Goliath doing? I don't think he was really paying attention. Oh my gosh, don't tell me the Panther just lost a huge chunk of its health because the Goliath exploded right there. I think it actually might have, because that was a brand new Panther battle group coming on. Oh my gosh, absolutely horrid losses here. 20 minutes so far into the game, we still don't really know who's going to win because both sides have a lot of diversity in their units, alright? We just had the Panther battle group coming out from the Panzer Elite over here. So how did they do that? Well, they actually built some of their buildings over on the right-hand side in their allies' base. Interesting stuff. I don't know why they actually do that. Can anyone actually explain why sometimes people do this in Rails and Metal? That they would actually build some sort of building in their allies' base? I don't really understand it. Can somebody maybe explain it? Is it to maybe shorten the distance to the right-hand side? I have absolutely no idea. But for whatever reason, they're actually doing that, alright? So there we go. That's the Panther Battle Group coming out with all those 4 buildings created. Oh my gosh, more men going down over here. Horrible, horrible stuff. For the Wehrmacht, what they have actually done is they have stopped. I have to sort of sift through these buildings over here. They have actually stopped at the T2 Krieg Barracks. Fair enough. Now let's head on over to, who is it? Symbiosis. Yeah, he stopped at T2 Krieg Barracks, and he's producing lots and lots of Grenadiers. Does he have a medic bunker by chance? Yes, he does. He has one. Yes, one medic bunker and also a repair bunker down. Fair enough. So a medic bunker, he's going to be going for this infantry spam, and this is sort of what I love about the Wehrmacht. I mean, back in the day, I used to strictly go for the strategy, such as heavy infantry, and mix it up with the defensive doctrine, as you guys can see over here. If you look at doctrinal choices, that Symbiosis has actually gone for the defensive doctrine. Alright, so he's actually gone down along the left-hand side slightly so he can get before the fogland. I'm guessing he also got for the, fortify the perimeter, so it allows him to actually get, what do you call it, also get MGs on top of his buildings in his base, and also increase the health of his bunkers. There we go. Oh my gosh, artillery coming down, a howitzer shoot right on top of all these men, killing the MG and also destroying the Panther right there. Whoa, a very effective use of that building over there, or sorry, that artillery. And we've also got aSIISymbiosis going for the flag. So at the very end of the left-hand side of the defensive doctrine is the flag, and so he's unlocked it and he's built it because it has an insane range. I wish we could actually see its range, but we can't actually see it. Damn, it's just one of these things you can't really see. It's I'm not sure if it's a glitch or something, but it's not one of these things that are enabled at the moment. It should be, but it's not. but it has an insane range. If I could guess, it'd probably go all the way over to this area around here. Absolutely insane range if it has the line of sight. I mean, look at that, for example, absolutely pelting this half-track, and I believe it's probably going to be destroyed. Since the Grenadiers, come on, is it not going to be destroyed? Is it too far? I guess it's actually too far. Wow, fair enough. I suppose it's the limit is probably around here. Whoa, 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 fair enough. So he's also going down along the right-hand side because we can see that he's also got registered artillery. If he keeps on going down that way, he'll also get the artillery rocket barrage, which is devastating to say the least. I mean, it instant suppresses units, and it kills, it just neutralizes everything in that area, really. That's all you can say about it. Alright, so on over to RoMJim, let's take a look at their, the Allies' doctrine choices. For example, we've got RoMJim going for the howitzer shoot. We saw that effective use of taking out the Panther there with the MG, for example. And that is the howitzer shoot. So over, that's on the right-hand side. If he keeps on going down this way, I believe, on the right-hand side, what do you actually get? Oh gosh, this is my memory failing on me already. But I know on the left-hand side, for example, you get rapid response, I believe, and on the left-hand side you get rapid response. On the right-hand side you get defensive operations, and you also get howitzer shoot. Then you get the actual howitzer itself. I know this is actually another thing that I learned only 30 minutes ago. It was about the defensive operations. I mean, all of us know it on a basic level of what it does. It basically allows your infantry, such as your riflemen, to produce barbed wire and tank traps and put down mines and stuff on the field that they normally wouldn't be able to do. But this is another thing that I didn't actually know. It actually increases the construction rate of those things. So it's actually faster to put down mines than it normally would. Also increases your construction rate of putting down MG nests by 50%. Wow. So, you know, these are a lot of details, a lot of nitty-gritty details that most stuff probably wouldn't even take notice of, but, you know, it's absolutely cool that these sort of things are in the game, that, you know, it's just great that every now and then you can sort of find out these things and learn more about the details. Maybe you can apply them into your gameplay somehow. I have absolutely no idea. Also, another great thing that I learned just that 30 minutes or so ago was also with the rapid response. So on the left-hand side of the infantry doctrine, we have the rapid response. Increases the construction rate of your infantry, so they are produced more faster from the barracks, and also the weapon support. I mean, we also all know that, but it also increases or decreases the time to actually produce a forward barracks as well. So all it takes is 15 seconds to actually produce a forward barracks. Wow, that is very, very fast. And that's what I keep on stressing, these nitty-gritty details that not a lot of us would actually care about or take notice of, but, you know, they are actually important. If you could somehow manage them into your strategy somehow, that could actually lead to an advantage. I mean, we all know how, like, for example, people build buildings on the edge of their base, for example, just to shave off a few seconds every here and there to get their guys onto the field faster. And so, you know, those details as well with the doctrinal choices and what they do, that could definitely shave off seconds here and there as well. All right, so on over to Drink, who has actually gotten the armor company doctrine. So that's why we saw the Calliope just firing there. Those weren't just shooting stars or asteroids or meteors, as I like to describe them. That was the Calliope just firing away right at the back of here safely, right? So he's actually gone down along the right-hand side because we have the Allied war machine. He's also got double Calliopes out, so this is going to be a lot of artillery support. It could be, perchance, what he needs, as long as the Americans can hold their area with some defensive units such as AT guns and MGs and such like that, maybe some riflemen, just to at least hold off the Wehrmacht. Then these Calliopes will waste away at the Wehrmacht. There's no question about it. I've been put up against Calliopes many times in my games, even though I might be this one that's winning the game, even though I might have 2/3 of the map control. As soon as Calliopes come out and you can't deal with them fast enough, Calliopes will wear you down and kill you. There's no denying it. They do a huge amount of damage to infantry and to tanks and buildings, that, you know, you have to deal with them straight away as soon as you possibly can, because 2 Calliopes is going to be very difficult to deal with. Let's take a look at what this Calliope is going to do. For example, it's just going to be landing right on top of these guys, and that's what I mean. Single rocket landing on top of them, killing 2 of them instantly like that. Even though it might not actually kill infantry, maybe sometimes it won't actually destroy your vehicle. It will heavily damage them or heavily injure them, right? So I suppose that's how you're going to win the game in the late game, right? It's just wearing your opponent bit by bit. If you can do that with artillery, then go for it. There you go. Americans being very smart over here and actually putting down some tank traps and barbed wire. I think they actually did this a little bit earlier in the game because it was a bit of a difficult time for them to actually hold on to this left-hand side because there's a lot of armored cars and scout cars and all this infantry and such. So they want to at least delay them a bit just to prevent them from flanking all the time from all these different directions. But, you know, it doesn't really matter anymore because there's Panthers out on the field now and they have that heavy crush ability, so they can actually just wear away at these tank traps and just pretty much just totally disregard them. There's no use for them anymore if there's Panthers out in the field, for example, right? Okay, so we've got some defenses coming on the left-hand side. We've also got, I believe, a Humo out on the field because that is no normal artillery that we normally see from any of the axes, for example. But it's also going down along the lines of the Scorched Earth. So we know how the Scorched Earth, for example, was selected by the Panzer Elite, and that is just finishing it off with the Humo, and that is going to be a great way to take on, or at least help against all these Calliopes out. So what's a great way of taking on the Calliopes? Well, using your own artillery of your own form, right? And there you go, Calliope just taking out a lot of guys over here. There you go, that's one more to gone, just like that. Alright. Well, on the left-hand side, we've got AT gun just going down. We've got some Americans just trying to defend this area as best as they possibly can, with the Panther just making himself known over here, just totally disregarding the tank trap as if nothing was going on. If you guys don't actually notice it, but whenever they are going over tank traps, they are severely slowed down. So it's sort of like if the vehicles were going through water, for example, they get slowed down quite a lot. I don't know, I'm just having a lot of fond memories right now, a lot of nostalgic moments coming back to me. Just the slowness of your tanks moving over tank traps. I don't know, like, it just sort of reminds me of my early day games, like 5 years ago, of just how I used to play this game. I remember fondly of this one game that I had, probably 5 years ago now, just one of my first games. I remember I was playing as the Wehrmacht, and basically my opponent was winning against me. At that point, I don't even believe, I think Opposing Fronts just came out. I think it was just a new expansion, it just recently came out. And my opponent was bringing Churchills on the field. You know, we were heavily losing. We were playing on Wehr River Valley, so hopefully you guys can actually remember right now, if you're trying to imagine this for yourself, what Wehr River Valley is. It's a map with the two bridges and also that big river going through the center. And we were being pushed back. I mean, literally, I was right in my base, and my opponent was getting smashed. For example, he was just falling apart. You know, his base was being pummeled by these Churchills, and it was just way too much for him to deal with. So, you know, I obviously had to anticipate my inevitable demise. So it's just like, oh my god, they're coming for me next. What am I gonna do? I did the most typical noobish thing that any noob could do. I built tank traps right around my base. I build barbed wire right around it, and I just put lots of AT guns, like packs and such like that. Just, you know, the sort of noobish base defense, right? And, you know, there came this big swarm of Churchills, this mass number of them. It was like 4, they came in succession. It was just like one after the other. And I was like, oh my god, they surely can't get through all these tank traps. But, you know, Churchills have a heavy crush. And it was just like, boom, they went right over the tank traps, and I was just absolutely surprised. I was like, what, they can do that? What's the point of my tank traps? And it's just it was a very nostalgic moment, and you know, it's horrifying in a way at the time when it was going on, but it was funny at the same time. And it's moments like these that, you know, ignorance is bliss. I suppose it's sort of like if you're comparing it to your childhood, for example, like your real childhood. You have, you know, how you might have fond memories of your childhood, and the reason is because ignorance is bliss. It's as simple as that. When you're a kid, you don't really know much about the world. You don't really know much about anything, for example, and so that's what ignorance is bliss is like. Basically everything is perfect in the world to you. You don't really have to rely on anyone. You don't really have to rely on yourself, you rely on your parents, and everything is great. You just play around, and that's sort of what Company of Heroes is like when you first get into it. You don't really know about the competitive scene. Everything is just a grand sort of fun sort of thing, right? Enemy unit down. And that's what it is. I mean, when you're first starting Company of Heroes, enjoy the game for what it is. Don't try to become a pro within months like Inverts did. Just try to appreciate the game as long as you can. Before you actually get into a competitive scene, because, you know, it is it's a really fun game when you play against people who are new at the game as well. It is absolutely superb, right? Okay, so it looks like this replay is almost over, but the Americans have a very good stance here. The Vermonts are actually, our aSIIs are down 195. And yeah, pretty much. And the Americans are almost at 300 at the moment. So Americans are leading by the VPs. We've got some artillery coming down. Howitzer shoot right on top of the men over here. Can it finish them off? Can it? Can it? Yes, it has. Okay, so I guess the Americans might be trying to go in for some sort of VP win here, because it looks like they're trying to go specifically for the VPs. Maybe they're struggling a little bit. I have absolutely no idea. One of the Calliopes actually went down over here. The other Calliope is still alive. So that's where you start, though. I mean, Calliopes are expensive vehicles, 650 to actually call one out, and so you need to keep them alive. And also at the same time, if you're up against them, you need to take them out. So it's really, you could really take it two ways, right? Although Calliope, be a little bit careful of this flak back here. I mean, the last thing you need is for this Calliope to be taken out. If this Calliope is taken out, it could definitely seal the deal. Oh my gosh, we've got the sniper going down here for the Americans, and pretty much none of these guys, I mean, some of them did die, but pretty much all of them still alive, alright? So the Calliope just falling back because the flak was firing away on it, so, very low on health. They need to get it back up to speed. All of these Grenadiers are closing in. They've got double veterancy out here. Kind of interesting that he hasn't actually, aSIISymbiosis hasn't actually gone for a triple veterancy. Oh my gosh, and the Hummel finishing off that Calliope just on retreat. If you didn't know, the Hummel does the most damage out of all artilleries in the game. Even though it didn't land directly on top of the Calliope, wow, even landing right beside it, enough damage to actually destroy the rest of that Calliope, even though it had field repair activated. Oh my gosh. Kind of surprising that aSIISymbiosis hasn't actually gone for triple veterancy for all of his infantry. I mean, if you have lots and lots of infantry, you might as well just go for a third veterancy, because you get that plus 20% extra health. Interesting stuff. I don't really know how to explain that. I suppose that veterancy 2 he at least gets some elite armor on the go, but fair enough. I suppose, like, if you were talking about pros and cons, I think the only reason you wouldn't go for Vet 3 is, yes, it's a little bit costly, but at the same time, plus 20% maximum health means your guys are going to die a little bit less frequently. So if, for example, you want to maximize the effect of your medic bunker and get the most guys out of there, then maybe you would just totally disregard the Vet 3 and just let your guys die, so you get more and more zombie squads out of there. Alright, Drink is actually dropped out of the game, and it looks like we've got a little bit of crying going on in the chat box, maybe a little bit of flaming. I have absolutely no idea. Some people complaining about spams of some sort. Then again, you know what, I think spams don't really come into play in this game unless it's strictly one type of unit. I mean, you know, he was saying like Grenadier spam and such, but like, what else are you supposed to build? That's the thing you sort of have to realize. At times, people might complain about, oh, they do rifleman spam, but then again, what else are Americans gonna build? I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense in this game. Your riflemen are bread and butter, and they do just pretty much everything in the game. That's how they're built, so there really is no argument to really complain about them. Anyway, guys, you know, I thought this was a pretty good game. I was quite surprised that the aSIIs actually won this. I mean, if we still look at the map, the Allies still had a good position of everything. They were a bit down in their infantry and their just general units, to be fair. But if they did keep them alive, they definitely could have kept on going on, especially if they kept these Calliopes alive. Kind of unfortunate. So I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. Now, I'm really sorry that I haven't actually been doing more replays and more frequently. I mean, I would be, but I don't know, it's just these things going on with university. I mean, I've got so many projects going on. I've literally got about 4 projects going on at the moment, and so I am struggling at times to actually find time to do Company of Heroes cast. I mean, I've got a whole lineup of things I want to do for you guys, but you know what, we'll actually get to them in time when I got more time going on. Next few days I've got not that much uni, not that much university, so you know, I'm not going to promise it, but we'll try to actually do some more Company of Heroes casts for you guys in the next few days. Alright, so until then, I will see you all later. Have a very nice day, and ta-ta!